Okay, this is KP4MD. We're now live on YouTube.
Good evening. This is Neil Kilo Lima 7 Hotel Quebec. Romeo, your net control operator for the River City Amateur Radio Communications Society, Slow Scan TV Net for this evening. And stand by. I have to lower my volume here on YouTube so that we don't have feedback. This net serves for training and practice of in-image transmission modes and meets on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. on the N6NA repeater on 441.30 megahertz. River City RX member and all licensed radio amateurs are also welcome to participate. If you wish to join the net or need to make a call at any time, please announce your call sign between transmissions and the net control will acknowledge you. If an emergency should arise and you need the repeater, please contact the net control by saying break, break. Double break always signifies emergency traffic. The net will stand by for you until the emergency is terminated or the traffic is moved to another frequency. Stations who wish to check in are asked to respond with their full call sign using the recognized ITU phonetic alphabet and their name. I will recognize each station before continuing. This transmission is also being broadcast on YouTube, and I hope that we'll have some viewers there. Stations who wish to check in on the net at this time, please come now. Good evening.
November 6, Papa Golf, Quebec, Bob.
N6PGQ, Bob. Good evening, sir. Anybody else?
This is Kilo Papa 4 Mike Delta Carol Citrus Heights.
Good evening, Carol, KP4MD. Joel joined us a little late last time. Maybe he will come in. Let me check myself in. KL7HQR, Neil. And anybody else that would like to participate in this evening's SSTV Net.
Kilo 3, Romeo Echo Hotel.
3 Romeo Echo Hotel. Good evening, sir. Nice to have you back. Anybody else? We'll see if Joel shows up later. We'll listen for him. One more time. Anybody else for the Slow Scan television tonight? Okay. So, Bob, N6PGQ, you're the first one. You have the ball, sir. Go ahead, KL7HQR in the net.
Okay, well, let's first see if this thing works and see if we have a tone.
Yeah, we have a very good short tone.
Okay, well, this is going to be PD 120.
scale 7HQR. Well, Bob, good copy. It came in very clear. No noticeable artifacts of any kind. Carol, KP4MD, you were the second station to check in. Let's see if you copy Bob. Go ahead.
Yes, okay, this is KP4MD. I did have a couple of lines that were dropouts due to multipath here where the signal actually went dropped in, dipped into the noise. But really a nice go kit. I see the, it looks like a Rig Expert on top of a yellow Pelican case. Looks like the yeah, that's the KX3 on the foreground with the with the Elecraft paddles. Little mini logbook. Next to that is the KXPA100 amplifier, and over behind that, I think there's a large on the back part of the bench. There's a large radio. Really nice. That's picnic table. It looks like it's out in the park. So back to a net control. This is KP4MD.
Very well. Good description, Carol. And yeah, I can see on YouTube, I see your picture there. But very good copy. K3, Romeo Echo Hotel. Good evening, sir, and your turn for your comments.
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, very nice copy here also. I have a little bit of a speck in the middle. I think that was because I had something on the other VFO that came through. But it looks like a camping stove or some kind of food preparation in the back there also. And maybe a battery down in the right-hand corner. And based on the vegetation in the background, maybe this is at some elevation, but obviously it's very hard to guess where this would be. But it looks like a good day, definitely. So interested to hear more about that. K3REH, back to net.
Refresh my mind, that's Anders, is that correct?
That is affirmative.
Okay, old memory sometimes fails. But nice to have you back, sir. Yeah, the advantage is scale 7HQR. The advantage of leaving ourselves for last is that now we know where the ranges are. We learned a little bit from your description, but no, a very, very good copy here. As I indicated, there is what appears to be an antenna analyzer there on top of the yellow case, as Carol mentioned. Clear enough there, we can see what appears to be some red pan and a black pan there near the other radio. Is that a radio? No, like you said, that is a food preparation. Maybe it's not a yellow and black pan. Maybe that's just a fire stick. And but very good copy here. No problem at all, Bob. So back to you for your description.
Okay, well, everybody got it really close. In the upper right-hand corner is my old, very old, somewhat rusty Coleman 3-burner stove with a water pan on it. And just above it to the left is one of those camp boxes where you can put your food in to keep the critters from getting into your food if you have a tent or just a sleeping bag. And everybody else got everything correct. Way down in the bottom right corner is my battery box. It's got a 20-amp lithium iron phosphate battery in it. Was using that to power the station, and it worked fine for a couple of days I used it. Didn't make many contacts. We were in Richardson Grove, which is maybe 100 miles north of Willits on 101 and 6 PGQ.
Anybody else has any questions for Bob on that? Well, I have one, Bob. 20 battery, 20 watt-hours lamps battery. Did you use the 100-watt amplifier? Was it able to support that?
Yes and yes. I had a compromised antenna because my YP3 antenna would not go together, and so I'm working on that in the next couple of days to get it ready for field day. Had to go get a set of tap and dies. The elements just wouldn't go together, so I don't know whether it was hot or something like that, and the aluminum grew in the heat or something. So anyway, I'm cleaning the threads out and hoping it gets fixed by Saturday morning. N6PGQ.
Pretty good, sir. Very, very good. And as you know, I'm very curious about setting up something somewhat similar as a Go box. Very well. Carol, KB4MD, your station number 2 on the check-in, and we'll go to you for your transmission.
Okay, yeah, this is going to be PD120, KP4MD. Okay, it's not working. I'm going to have to just hold on. I'm going to have to restart MMS STV.
No problem whatsoever. We can hold on here. And Bob, did you you said about 100 miles or so the distance? In which direction? I'm not familiar with the area.
It's 100 miles north of Willits.
Okay, 100 miles north of Willits, and I heard the tone. Maybe Carol is ready. Let's listen. Scale 7H2R net control for the N6NA slow scan television this evening. Very good copy, Carol, and it's obviously a field day. I am assuming that it's 2019 field day at the same location that we're going this year. On the very top, yellow band, N6NA SSTV Net with the MMS STV version. On the center, we see Mr. Bob, N6 in red shirt on the River City shirt. Next to him, sitting down, Don N6, N6, I forget, PJJ. And Bob's Go Box sitting on the table, and a laptop next to it, and a couple of containers of drinks. And there is a Wi-Fi, looks like a Nexus Wi-Fi sitting there. And overall, very good copy. A few artifacts, a few dots here and there, but a very, very good copy on my side. Anders, back to you, K3RET, for your comments, sir.
Yes, I also received a really good copy. I have a few little specs, and funnily enough, recognized the little picture down in the left corner. It looks like something we very recently saw here. Yeah, looks like a good day, definitely. Impressive Go box there on the table, a little fold-up table, and looks like these two gentlemen I haven't had the pleasure in person yet, and I hope that will change very soon. So yeah, looks like an awesome day and a very good copy. Back to Net.
Very well, sir. N6VGQ, back to you for your comments.
Oh, everybody got most of it. There's a bag of some sort behind W6PJJ's head, and we've got a paper log in front of my left elbow, and my Go box, and a thermos bottle on the table to keep us from being dehydrated. And other than that, it was a field day, and barring unforeseen circumstances, I'm going to bring the same setup on Saturday, N6PGQ.
Very well. Anybody has any additional questions? I did that out of order. Let's go to Carol for her description of what she sent. Apologize there, Carol. KP4MD, please go ahead.
No, not a problem. You all got it right. That picture was from 2019 at the VFW post there in Fair Oaks, and it was a really nice picture of Don and Bob. I thought that would be good to. In the theme of Field Day this week, it was good to share this picture, and also a shout out there to Craig, WP2N, who's watching us on YouTube Live. So back to Net Control. This is KP4MD.
Roger. Yeah, I just looked at YouTube. I was going to mention that. Whiskey Papa to November. Yeah, nice to have you on YouTube following up. Let us know how you're getting. How they coming along. Yep, very good picture there, and looks like we're going to be probably in the same location, in the same little corner there in a few days. Very well. K3, I'll leave my picture for last. K3REH. Anders, please go ahead with your picture if you have one.
I will start my picture in a few seconds, and this will be PD 120.
KO7HQR and the net. Good copy. Quite a few specs this time on the picture, but overall very good, sharp rendition of the picture. It looks like an oscilloscope, Y10 oscilloscope with at least 2 different traces on it. It appears to be measuring a device which is in first plane, and it looks like it's probably with some AA's or AAA batteries on the right-hand side. I have not one idea of what device there would be. It seems to be on a beautiful wooden table, and the far end of the table seems to be a small speaker, tabletop speaker. Others always come up with some very interesting technical pictures, so I'm very curious to understand what this is. So let's go to number 1, Bob, N6BGQ for your comments.
Okay, well, I always don't get many of the modern devices that are there, but it looks like the batteries are powering a small device in the front, because you can see the power leads going to it. Looks like a dummy load on the left side of whatever the gray and black box is, and the speaker in the back is obvious, and there's some kind of a grate on the left side. If I were guessing and didn't have a clue, I'd think it was a barbecue grate or something like that. But I don't know anybody that would put a barbecue right next to their scope. So anyway, the picture came out real good here. Whatever it is, we will wait for the description. N6PGQ.
Okay, thank you, Bob. And now to Carol, KP4MD, for your attempt to identify what we're looking at.
Okay, yeah, this is KP4MD. There's definitely, I can recognize that piece of test equipment there. I have one that's just like it. It's a Siglent SSA3021X spectrum analyzer. And it's showing kind of a complex waveform there with a large peak to the left, a smaller peak to the left of that, and also a small peak also to the right, further removed. I think it's probably measuring or displaying a signal that's coming out of that device that's plugged into that. It looks like a pack of 8 AA batteries, which would give you something like 12 volts. There's a little power cord going to a board in there, and I imagine that board inside that cavity of some sort is putting out an RF signal. The thing on the left of that case that it's in looks like a dummy load plugged into the end there. It looks like probably an end connector on the left. And then on the right, there's another connector that's looks like it's going to the cable that's going into the spectrum analyzer. Interesting. Was wondering what kind of device that is. Some kind of a resonant cavity or something. That's my guess. So back to net control. This is KP4MD.
Thanks, Carol. Yeah, you always recognize some of the equipment more than some of us. Good. That's good for you. Let's go to Mr. Anders and see what is the mystery picture. K3 REH. Please go ahead.
So this is K3REH, Anders. Carol, you were extremely close. You got the make and model of the instrument in the back, 100% correct. And actually, the interesting part in this picture is the gray mystery box in the front. That is what's called a TEM cell, T-E-M cell. Stands for Transverse Electromagnetic Cell. And it is essentially a weird piece of coax. So as you may see in the picture, there are two outer shells, and then there is a middle plane called the septum. And you can actually view this as if it was a piece of coax. So the two outer things are basically the shield, and the thing in the middle, the septum, is the middle conductor in the coax. And it's made this way so that you can take another device, which is the little board underneath there that has two little red lights on it, put it inside of this thing, and basically what you get is a way to pick up the electromagnetic radiation that's coming out of that board in a fairly controlled way, and feed that to the instrument so you can measure the amplitude, or actually mostly the relative amplitudes of what's coming out of that board, intentional or not. So it's a piece of test instrument used to basically design circuits where you need to make sure whether or not they radiate a reasonable amount of electromagnetic interference. So that's what this is, a TEM cell. K3REH, back to net.
Oh, fascinating, Anders. Fascinating. And let me open for questions. Any of you have additional questions for Anders?
Yeah, this is KP4MD. I was looking online and I'm seeing that that little TEM cell box runs like $500. It's quite a pricey piece of equipment, but apparently it's made to specifications to maintain the impedance there. Like you say, I could see there's an impedance transformation where you have that flange that flares out to that area. I'd like to know what exactly was that little board, if you know what that board was that was being measured. Anders, this is KP4MD.
Yes, the board is one of the products that my company and myself design. So it's actually my little product that sits underneath there and getting measured on. The price of this, as you say, it's $500 plus, simply because of the precision and the tuning of it, so it needs to be accurate. I guess the market isn't that big for these kind of things either, so they're all basically made kind of custom. But it is nothing compared to the cost of taking this board to a lab and paying $500 an hour to be there and fumble with your design to try to get it to conform to the required FCC standards. So that is actually a very cheap price to pay once to have an environment where you can work on your circuit to fix it up to have a better chance of passing the first time when you go to the actual big lab. So that's it. I also heard Bob in there, K3REH. Back to Bob.
Okay, well, I just had a question. Is the slot in the front open all the time, or does it close around the device you're testing, or do you just insert the device into that slot?
So this is what's called an open TEM cell. It is open all the time so that you can actually fiddle with the board underneath there while it's running and while you're measuring on it. That obviously has the downside that you are also receiving everything else in the air. And if you look at the yellow peak on the left there, that is actually the FM band right there. So that is the FM broadcast that you see right there. That's the local rock stations. So basically what you can do is to do relative measurements with this. So you basically put your board in, run a calibration round, and then you turn it on and then see how much the other line in the back there, you can see the purple line. That's actually the interference that is added to the background noise from the equipment under test, or the board underneath there. So that's how it works. K3REH, back to net.
Well, very, very interesting, Anders. Thank you. Let's see. Carol, do you have any additional questions or comments before we do that with Bob?
Yeah, actually, this is KP4MD. I see now those the yellow curve, like you say, is the existing background RF in the environment. I guess you could probably normalize that so that will just go down flat, and then you would measure whatever was superimposed on that when you put in your board. Is that board, excuse me, an intentional radiator, or yeah, uh, are you is that an intentional RF radiator? That's the question. Over.
So this board actually has a transmitter on it. It's a cellular radio. In this case, it's not on. So in the situation where you're looking at this right now, this is all unintentional radiation. So it's all FCC Part 15 that we're trying to design this towards. And actually, the levels on the scope, this particular board is a reference board, and it has already passed the FCC Part 15. So what I'm doing here is just getting some reference measurements. And you're absolutely right. What you see in the back there is kind of it's sloppy set up. It should be normalized away, and you can kind of get rid of the background RF and just look at your own board. So that's how it's gonna work a little later. So yeah, that's what this is. K3REH, back to net.
Very well, sir. Bob, do you have any additional questions?
Oh no, I just was curious what the silver grate to the left of the analyzer is.
The grate to the maybe in the back there are just blinds, and then the black part to the left is a very high-tech office chair. So not too exciting. K3REH, back to net.
You mean no barbecue grade right now?
I don't think our landlord likes it when we run barbecues inside the office, but I'll check with him. Get back to you on that. K3REH.
Roger, I do have a question, Anders. Does this device comes in different sizes to accommodate different sizes, physical sizes of devices under test?
In fact, it does. This is a small one. There are even smaller ones, and there are much larger ones. Typically, when they grow above maybe 3 or 4 feet, now you're kind of up in the size where you make them completely shielded and put all 4 walls on them. The downside with making it bigger, other than it's bulky, is also that the frequency response changes, so you have a tougher time on the higher frequencies. So this particular size is suitable for the scope or for the spectrum analyzer in the back. So this size basically covers the 1 to 1.5 gigahertz that the spectrum analyzer will cover. So they kind of go hand in hand there. So that's why we picked this size for what we do. Back to net.
Very well, sir. I think we all learned a few things. Really appreciate your participation. Now I will try to send one which will be definitely not a high-tech picture. It will be PD-120. Well, I don't know how the transmission distorted the colors scheme on this picture, but let's see. Let's go to Anders first, since he was number 4. K3REH. How did you copy the picture, sir?
I received a good picture. Colors doesn't look really distorted, maybe a little dampened. It's a beautiful sunset over some mountain far away in the distance. My first reaction was that the mountain shape there looked a little bit like Table Mountain in Cape Town, but then the direction of the sunset and the angle of anything doesn't match, so that is definitely not it. But it's a beautiful sunset along a beach. The dark beach contrast is a little difficult to discern what's actually there. There's a city to the left of that mountain there, and definitely some taller houses, and the silhouette of the city there, cityscape, is right there. There is a lens glare up in the top of the picture that looks really interesting. Looks like a water glare or water bubble, but it's probably from the lens. So looks like a beautiful sunset. Very interested to hear where this is from. K3REH, back to net.
Thank you, Anders. It would be interesting to hear a little bit more about that other mountain that it is not. N6PGQ, Bob, back to you.
Well, Anders got everything right, I think. But, you know, the buildings don't look to me like they're buildings. They look like they might be a superstructure or something like that on a ship. But I have wild guesses that are usually wrong, unless there's other buildings behind other buildings. It doesn't look like buildings to me. So anyway, it's a nice sun picture with probably also lens flare up in the top, and it's pretty, and it came through without very many artifacts. N6PGQ.
Very well, Bob. Thanks again. KP4MD, Carol, it's your turn, sir, lady.
Okay, yeah, this is KP4MD. The picture came through very, very clear, as you can see on the YouTube feed, and I want to put a shout out to Kevin, KK6GC2, who is following along. And I'm going to take a guess that this is, I know that Neil has traveled to many exotic places. I'm going to guess this has something to do with Alaska. Perhaps it's a picture of the midnight sun, and with some interesting colors over to the extreme left and right. There may be a little green in the dusk that you're seeing, where the yellow is kind of blending into the blue above. And yes, there are some on the skyline over there to the left of the sun. Could be tops of some buildings. They look kind of rectangular. Looks like something man-made there, of course. And I don't know about that circular object in the sky that has a sort of a diagonal cloud, like almost a semicircle appearance in the bottom of it. I'm not sure if that's a droplet of water on the lens, or is that some other kind of phenomenon that you only see in the Arctic. I could be completely off, because I know he's got a lot of pictures from Europe as well. So back to net control. This is KP4MD.
Thank you, Carol. This is KL7HQR. And hi, Kevin. Glad to see you are participating with us through the YouTube. Glad to see that we have beginning to attract a crowd now. Anyway, everybody, very good descriptions, and I hate to disappoint it, because that is a lens flare. It is not an unidentified flying object. This picture was taken from aboard ship, and the mountain on the center on the far right is Diamond Head. This is Honolulu, and it is a sunrise. We're coming in very, very early, and for some reason we had a port cabin coming in, and the little bit of it's taken with a little bit of a zoom, and there is some land on the right next to my call letters. You can see because of the zoom that it was used. And so that is Honolulu, and to the left here, we're just passing Barbers Point, which is in turning the corner coming into Honolulu, and to the left here, invisible to outside of the picture, is the entrance to Pearl Harbor. I just thought it was kind of an interesting picture, and it was sent with the ideas, and let's see if somebody can guess what it is. Any questions or comments? Next time I'll send an electronic picture like Andrews does, so I get some questions. Anyway, guys, it is now 21:43. We have about almost 20 minutes. If anybody else have a picture that they would like to send, we can send the second one. So, Bob, you're N6PGQ, you're number one. Do you have another picture to send?
Well, I think I'll pass. I'm going to kind of save a couple more car pictures for when Wilson comes back and see if I can baffle him.
Okay, that sounds like a good idea. Carol, KP4MD, any other pictures you would like to share?
Yeah, this is KP4MD. I just want to say that I'm a little bit disappointed I didn't see any ISS pictures. But just a reminder to everyone out there that the International Space Station will continue sending slow scan TV pictures until June 26th. So you have a couple more days to receive those. And I guess those are on 145.800 FM. And when they fly over, they come in really strong because they're running regular high power on a mobile radio up there at the space station. Did you have anything else to say about that, Neil? Over.
No, as a matter of fact, I was surprised. Bob was the one who called me and told me. This time I was not aware of that, and he called me and told me. And by the time I turned on the 2 meters on 145.8, they were out of range, and I was looking. It looks like we have another 5 hours, 6 hours maybe, for them to start coming over. They're coming in later tonight on an ascending node from the southwest to the northeast. So hopefully I'll leave the radio on all night and see if we can capture anything. Sorry about that. Enders, K3REH, do you have any additional pictures you would care to share, sir? It looks like we have
actually I can share a non-technical picture that
they're coming in,
there's time for that.
Okay, Anders, I heard you have one, but somebody else came in there also. Who was the other station that came in?
Yeah, I think that was your voice on YouTube that was coming on the background there with Anders.
Oh, okay. Very well. So, Anders, if you have another one, please go ahead.
So this is going to be PD 120.
scale 7H2 on the net. Good copy, although a few specs around, but overall good copy here. Let's go to Bob, number 1, N6PGQ. Your comments, sir.
Well, here we go again. I make wild guesses, but I'm going to guess that somebody is on the water and piloting some kind of craft. I don't think it would be an aircraft flying low because the communications devices, the telephone handsets are barely hanging there, and I don't think you'd want to have an airplane done like that. Person's got probably a pair of glasses on the top of his head, although it might be an earphone for communication. His right hand's on a joystick, and there's some buttons and dials and things to that effect in the front, some gauges, and a windshield wiper in the middle, and a landmass right about smack dab in the middle of the picture. So it came through with, a few artifacts in the dark area, but all in all, a very nice picture, N6PGQ.
KP4MD, your comments, Gal?
Okay, this is KP4MD. Wow, this is a young, looks like a young man wearing a hoodie, and he's at the pilot's position of, I don't think this would be an aircraft. I agree with that. I see he's looking out over what it looks like water towards an island in the distance. And on the right side, there's what looks like a radar display, or it could be sonar, but I think it's probably a radar display showing some contours. Probably might have to do with the shore, echoes from the shore. This is what I'm guessing. I would say, being this is Anders, it's got to be something high tech. Maybe a hovercraft or something. I have no idea where this is, but I don't think it's anywhere around here. This is my guess. So back to net control. This is KP4MD.
This is scale 7HQR. Well, I agree with all descriptions. The young man with, Carol noticed the hoodie. I had not. In my opinion, he has a headset microphone that what he's wearing. It appears that he's staring, looking very, very attentive at what he's doing. And obviously this is not an airplane. If it is, I think FAA would have something to say about it. Anders, sound like, I wonder if this is one of your vehicles, or what is going on? K3REH, please go ahead, sir. KL7H2RH in the net.
Yeah, K3REH here. This young man is, in fact, my son. It's a few years old, this picture. I believe it's 2018 in the summer. And we are visiting Stockholm, my hometown. I moved from there 22 years ago, so quite a while ago. But anyway, he is right now in this picture piloting a ship called Cinderella 2. And Cinderella is a ferry, person ferry, so no vehicles on it, other than bikes, I guess. That is cruising around in the Stockholm archipelago, which is a cluster of almost 30,000 islands outside Stockholm. So you can imagine that there's some quite interesting waterways, and that's why you see that radar on the right-hand side there. That you need that, really need that when you're on a big boat like this in the archipelago. This vessel is about 130 feet long. It's powered by big engines going almost 30 knots through the archipelago, and can easily carry about 350 people. So It so happens that my brother-in-law is or was at this time, the captain of the boat. So he led us up there, and he had a very, very happy 12-year-old getting to pilot this boat for a few minutes through the archipelago with a cargo of a couple of hundred people. So you can imagine that his hands were shaking, but he was a very, very happy boy after this little endeavor. So that's what this was. K3REH, back to net.
How interesting. I have a few questions, but before I do that, N6BGQ, you have any questions or comments?
No, it got explained pretty well. It's, obviously a fairly modern ship, N6PGQ.
Carol, any questions or comments?
No, very impressive, and apparently you've been to some very interesting parts of the world. Thank you so much for sharing these pictures, Anders. This is KP4MD.
This is Scale 7 HQR. Interesting that you mentioned Stockholm, since my wife background is very strongly from Sweden. We took a cruise from Denmark, and coming in, we could see that island where coming into landing in Denmark, in Copenhagen, we could see that island that the road kind of disappears in the island and then goes underground, and it was very interesting, very intriguing to see all those cars disappearing. And we intended to go not that far from the Sweden side, but he developed a bed back, and we ended up not being able to go. But that is definitely in our bucket list, to go and see the Sweden specifically and the Scandinavian Canadian countries. And I'll bet you that young man is going to remember this for his entire life, and quite an opportunity. So back to you, Anders, for any additional final comments.
Yeah, this was certainly a big experience for him. He after this, obviously, he was certain to be a boat captain. That has changed about 30 times since then, and he's now a high schooler and has other things in mind. But no, this was a fantastic experience, obviously, and I can warmly recommend cruising around in the archipelago, Stockholm archipelago, in the summer. It is absolutely amazing. One interesting fact about the Swedish laws is that there is it is allowed to basically go to any of these islands. So unlike here, where everything is private, and if you set foot on somebody's property, you risk of getting rid of that foot. That's not the case in Sweden. Basically, you can anchor your boat on pretty much any of these islands. Obviously not right on top of somebody, but if it's reasonably well away from somebody's house or somebody's other property, you can certainly jump inshore, and you can stay there for a while, as long as you don't leave junk or garbage after yourself, and so you can really get good use of all these 30,000 islands out there. So it's absolutely amazing if the weather is good. So recommend the summer and recommend Stockholm Archipelago. K3REH, back to net.
Very important information. Shall be looked into, and since that's definitely going to be one of our destinations if opportunity and our health holds up. So you said, are you from Sweden? And you said how long did you come to the United States?
Yes, I'm born and raised in Sweden, so I was there until my 30th birthday. Just after that, I moved to the U.S., so that was 1999. So I've been here for 22-ish years, something like that. So I moved straight from Stockholm to Sacramento. K3REH.
Yeah, a little bit different in temperature, as we all know this week. I am glad that you're here. I'm glad that you are among our ham radio friends and that you participate with us. Thank you for sharing so much. As Carol said, that's one opportunity for all of us to learn from each other. Any further comments? I think it's time now that we should be closing the net. It's 21:59. Any further comments before we close the net tonight?
Yeah, this is KP4MD. I was just Googling the Stockholm archipelago, and I see it's a cluster of some 30,000 islands, skerries, and rocks. And it just begins a few minutes away from the city of Stockholm. That should be, I guess, pretty hazardous navigation if you've got tiny little rocks like that and you got thousands of them around. So it would make it especially hazardous to be trying to navigate that in the dark where you're not seeing the rocks. And perhaps that was a problem historically, back even going back as far as the time of the Vikings. It's impressive though, and I could see the need for using something like that radar. Any comments on that, Anders? Over.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It can be quite treacherous. But the interesting thing is that very large ships go all the way in through the archipelago. So to do that, you need very special training. And that was actually part of my brother-in-law's training also. So he was one of the guides that were helicoptered out to ships that needed to get into Stockholm. So he was moved out to the ship on a helicopter, and then he was the one supervising the boat captain while navigating through these treacherous waters going into Stockholm. And you're absolutely right that there has been plenty of ships that didn't make it, and which makes for a fantastic scuba diving environment. So that is something that I did a lot when I was there, scuba diving in these waters and finding old wreckage of ships and boats at the bottom, and it's absolutely amazing. So yeah, plenty to do there. K3REH, back to net.
Any further comment, Carol?
No, negative. That's all. Thank you so much, and good evening to all. KP4MD.
Roger. And thanks, Bob. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Anders. And we shall now close the net for tonight. I think it was good. We have two people following us on YouTube, and saw different types of pictures and learned different things about different parts of the world. And looking forward to doing that again next weekend. And Anders, if you have a chance, come and visit us on Field Day on Saturday and Sunday, and it would be nice to be able to start seeing people in person again. With that, we'll say 73s and good evening to all of you. And this is Scale 7 HQ1. Now closing that and saying good night.